Welcome to the Walking with Mindfulness webinar. Thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for taking their time to join us today. We're really excited about today's presentation. So I am Cheryl Casternakis. I am the Executive Director at Greater Mercer Transportation Management Association. For those of you that aren't familiar with Greater Mercer TMA, we are a nonprofit public-private partnership dedicated to improving mobility, increasing sustainability, and furthering safety in and around Mercer and Ocean County. So just want to give you some general information now on the webinar itself. The audience will be muted during the webinar. We'll be taking questions after the presentation and during the webinar. Julia Ibarra from Greater Mercer TMA will be monitoring the questions. So if you have one, just pop it in the Q&A, which is you can find on your bottom of your screen, and put in that section. If we do not get to your question during the webinar, we will ask our presenter to answer your question, and we'll be able to email you the answer later. And if you miss anything, do not worry, because this is being recorded and you'll be able to view it on YouTube, and we will email to you the link for that as well. So now I just want to introduce our guest, Alex Crowley. Alex is certified by the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy as a forest therapy guide. After solidifying her love of nature at the University of Vermont, Alex started her career as a sixth grade math and science teacher in the inner city school system in New York City for Teach for America. Alex comes from a medical family, and she soon realized her passion was to become a nurse. Alex spent time studying at Columbia University and working in New York City hospitals, and is now an accomplished nurse practitioner specializing in mental health, working in the Student Center at Princeton University. The synchronicity between mental health wellness and environmental wellness first drew Alex to forest therapy. She has a passion to bring health and wellness to people and their environment through guiding walks in a safe and accessible way. So welcome, Alex. We are delighted to have you here today to present this webinar, and we're going to hand it over to you now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, both Cheryl and Julia, for having me. It's a great opportunity to share something that I'm really passionate about. My hope for everyone here today is to have an idea about what forest therapy walks are, kind of get a little taste of it as best as one can through Zoom, and hopefully to help guide and continue your experience after this webinar as well. So as Cheryl mentioned, I'm a certified forest therapy guide, and I was certified through the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy. And they have a standardized sequence of how a forest therapy walk will go. So if you are going to find a guide that's trained in the same way, you should pretty much expect the same thing, no matter where you are. There are over 700 guides that are trained in this all throughout the world. And you can find a guide through the website, which we can give you. And you can find a guide in your area. I believe we're all in New Jersey. Is that correct? Is everyone here from New Jersey? Yeah, okay. So even if you're not, though, like I say, there's guides all over the world. So for those that don't know, if you've been on a forest therapy walk, well, welcome. And if you haven't been on one before, I'll just explain a little bit about what they are. So originated in Japan, and it was a practice called Shinrin-yoku, and that translates to forest bathing. And in the 80s, the government noticed a connection between people working inside more, working in offices more, and negative health outcomes, such as high blood pressure or cancer. And they started to research kind of like what to do about this. And they actually took information about folks, such as their blood pressure, before and after a walk they would take in the woods. And they actually noticed a really big, not necessarily really big, but they noticed a positive effect that being out in the woods helps reduce stress, reduces blood pressure. A lot of research has subsequently been done, and they have found that just being outside in nature helps us breathe in these chemicals that trees release that improve our immune system and actually increase our natural killer cells, which kill germs and things that make us sick. And there's just a natural relationship that we all have to nature, such as the trees breathe out oxygen, we breathe it in, we breathe out CO2, they breathe it in. So there's sort of just a natural connection that we have. And so many of us are indoors that we've kind of lost that connection over the years. We used to be outside a lot more. So the practice of forest bathing is to do exactly that, to get you outside, outdoors, and hopefully to improve your connection with nature. Not everybody has fun in nature or enjoys nature. I personally do. I love the woods. I feel more peaceful in the woods. But even if you're just outside, you're going to be breathing in some of these benefits. Your body will respond. So that's a little bit about how the walk started. So the particular organization that I was trained with was started by a gentleman, Amos Clifford. He has a book, Forest Bathing. I don't have any gain about that book or anything, but just FYI, there's a lot of books on forest bathing, some called Shinrin Yoku. And he was a therapist, he did a lot of meditation, and he had created this so that it could be reproducible and potentially be something that the healthcare system could offer. And from my own personal experience, I think it would be helpful for us to be able to offer experiences like this, where as long as you're aware of things in the area, it's pretty much side effect free. Unlike a lot of medications or surgeries or things like that. Not to say they're not useful because they are, but it's good to have alternatives. And this can really make a big difference. So that's a little bit of the background. How it goes, we first start out with this introduction that I'm doing now. And then what I'll do in a few moments is a guided sort of sensory awareness to help you open up your senses to be present. So we're going to do that together here in a few moments. And then the way the walks go is through a series of invitations. And they're invitations because I'm going to put them out there and you can follow them if you'd like, but you don't have to. You can do whatever your body is feeling in the moment that it needs to do, especially if you take some of this stuff outside and next time you're maybe on a walk in the woods or just even a walk in your neighborhood, you can practice some of this stuff and see if it doesn't help you feel a little bit more connected to the more than human world that is around us all the time. So I'm just checking my notes here. So I, as your forest therapy guide, I'm here to open the door for you to connect to nature. The forest is the therapist. As the guide, my goal is just to open the door for you to walk through. So it's up to you to walk through the door, and then the forest will provide the healing that's needed. So it's a very personal experience. Whatever you get from the forest is what you need in that moment. And I can't predict what it is you will experience. Everyone has a different experience when they go on these walks. And just to let you a little know of what it's not. It is not a fast hike through the woods, and it's not a nature walk where we're pointing out labels of things. If you notice you start to label things or start to categorize things, or you're in your head and thinking, try to bring it down and just observe what it is that you're noticing in the moment. We also have a wild tending ethic where we encourage you to go off trail as long as it's okay in the park you're in or the place you're in, because we are a part of nature. And by getting off the trail in a safe way, you might notice new things or see a different path that you hadn't noticed before. and treat that world as it's your home, because it is. Um, okay. So when you're out and about, just be aware of wherever you are. Here in New Jersey, we have a lot of poison ivy in the spring, summer, fall. There's ticks, there's bees. So it's good to, whenever you go on the trail or wherever you're walking, just to take a moment and just to say, well, what is here? Are there rattlesnakes? Are there things that I should be aware of? So when you go through this walk, you're keeping a little bit of that in the back of your mind just for your own safety. And next thing I'd like to point out is where you are in the moment. So wherever you are in this moment right now, kind of just take a look around, if you're inside or outside, and just notice, look up, look down, look all around, and just observe your space. What do you see outside the window? What do you see right in your space? Imagine what this place was like thousands of years ago. Imagine what might have been walking on this land, tending this land, shaping this land. Just like us, this land has taken a journey to get to this point. The land and ourselves did not always look this way. I wonder what it might have looked like here in New Jersey when the Lenape tribe, a once powerful Native American nation, were tending this land. This website here, wherever you are in the world, not everything is mapped, will show you about the Native American tribes where you are. And you can see our area here. And where many of us are right now is in the Lenape area. So wherever you go, imagine what it was like. Take a moment to pause and think and connect to the native tribes that maybe were once there. You can use that site as a tool to help you if you don't know. And now I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and turn your attention to your breath. Notice your breath. Are your breaths long or short, deep or shallow? Where in your body do you feel your breath? Try placing a hand on your stomach or chest to feel the rise and fall of the breath in your body. I wonder what it feels like to have your body in this moment. Is your body asking for something? Are you able to give your body what it wants in this moment? What does it feel like to be standing or sitting right now? Shifting your weight or rocking your body, what do you notice in this moment? Notice the grace and the giving of whatever it is that's supporting you in this moment. Thank that chair or that ground for giving you the support to be here. Tapping into your imagination, I invite you to imagine roots extending out of your body and sinking into the earth. Imagine what those roots would see as they grow beneath you. What beings might your roots encounter? How many beings have been in this exact space before us? Let your roots sink deeper into the soil. What does it feel like to be rooted into the earth in this place, in this moment? Take a moment to notice your skin. What does your skin sense? Does the skin that is covered feel any different from the skin that is exposed to the air? Hold your hand out in front of you. Hold the air in your hand and let the air hold you. Take your hands and rub them together. What does it feel like for your hands to touch each other? What textures do you notice? Take your hands and just explore what your hair feels like, your head, your clothes, the chair you're on or the ground you're on. What does it feel like? Just take a moment and explore the feeling of the world around you. If you are outside and near the ground, you can grab a lump of dirt and feel the dirt. Does that dirt feel like? I wonder what it smells like. I wonder what the world around you smells like. If you don't have dirt, what do you have around you that you can smell? What does your desk smell like? What does your computer smell like? Be curious, explore, allow yourself to just have fun. Sometimes we can smell if we stick our head back a little bit. Sometimes you might notice a different smell that way. I wonder what the air tastes like right now. Imagine you have a straw and bringing the air in through your mouth and just let it go over your tongue and see if you notice any tastes. I wonder what the indoors tastes like versus outside. Maybe later on today, if you're outside, taste the air inside. If you're inside right now, try and see what the air tastes like outside. You can also just let your tongue out and just let it pant like a dog and see if you notice any different tastes that way too. Now let's listen for a moment. What does the place sound like where you are right now? What sound is furthest from your body? What sound is closest? If you want, you can try what we call deer ears, where you just cup your hands around your ear and just fold the lid down a little bit, kind of cupping them in, and see if you notice any difference in the sounds around you. How many sounds are you hearing right now? Is there a rhythm or a melody to the place you're in? Now, in a moment, I'm going to invite you to stand up and turn in a circle. You can still do this with your eyes closed or keep a soft gaze for safety. Once you stand up, I'm going to ask you to place your hands over your heart, and then we're going to slowly turn in a direction, doesn't matter which one, and simply notice what the different directions feel like in your body. See if they feel different. And when you find a direction that feels good to you, just stop. So if you can now in your space, feel free to stand up with your hand over your heart or your belly. And then just slowly turn in a circle. And just notice what the different directions feel like. And once you found a direction that feels good to you, you can just go ahead and stop there. And now I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. Hopefully you've kept a soft gaze or closed, but if not, you can close them now. And then slowly open your eyes. And I want you to imagine what you were seeing was painted especially for you by someone who loves you very much. So go ahead and slowly open your eyes. And just take a moment to notice what you're seeing. And if anything feels good to you in this moment, allow yourself to take it in. And then when you're ready, you can kind of come on back. And I know we're not all in one space together, but I'm wanting to share with you a short video. Now that your senses are open, what I'd like you to do as you watch this is just simply to notice what is in motion. Whenever you go outside, take a moment, 5, 10 minutes even, and walk as slowly as you can to notice what is in motion. And now, with your senses open, I'd like you to take 5 minutes, explore that direction that you stopped in when we went in a circle. You can wander slowly in that direction, or you can simply just find a spot to sit and just allow yourself to sit. I'll keep the time and I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Just allow yourself just to sit. Okay, so that was our 5 minutes. I'm curious to know, what are you noticing in this moment? I'm not sure if it's possible to share in the chat or um, oops, um, in the Q&A. Oh, okay. So if you feel comfortable, put in the chat a word about what you're noticing in this moment, and I'll read out if you can't see it. Deeper breathing, relaxation, stillness, calmness, ducks, peace, one with my surroundings, spider on the wall. That's a good awareness, spiders. Well, thank you all for sharing. I appreciate it. So obviously it's a limited virtual forest therapy walk, and yet in our time together, it sounds like folks were able to feel a little calmer, connect to your breath, notice things like ducks and spiders, and feel more peace and more connected to the surroundings. So if possible, take some of these things that we did today and bring it with you the next time you're outside, especially if you feel like you're hurrying from one point to another. If you're able to pause and just ask yourself, what am I noticing in this moment? Or what do I smell? Or what am I seeing? And just take in the moment if you can. And if you're able to get out into the woods and do this and just sort of take in the forest, you never know what the forest or the woods will share with you. It's kind of an interesting concept, but through my experience, I've um, been able to experience a lot. One example, went out to the woods and was just journaling, and I heard a rustling in the leaves. Oh God, never heard that before. It was a weird sound, and I couldn't see anything. And then I kept looking, and it was a turtle that was kind of walking towards me. Thought, wow, isn't that interesting? So you just never know what you'll see or experience when you take the time to pause outside. So I encourage you all to do that. And I encourage you all to hop on a walk if you have a guide nearby. It's kind of, we equate it to like yoga, where you can do yoga on your own. And sometimes it's nice to take a class with an instructor. So if you have any questions, that's my walk for today. Please let us know. And I thank you all for being here and participating in this, our virtual walk together. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Yes, we're now open for questions. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A. I would like to start with one question that we were. Can this technique that we discussed and applied today, be used when we're just walking to do an errand or walk around the neighborhoods?
Absolutely. You want to be wise and careful. Like if you're driving, you want to pay attention to the task at hand. Um, and the more you're able to bring this awareness to the moment, the more present you'll be, and the more you'll just notice about the world around you. And it's sort of like that getting caught up in our mind versus in the doing versus being. And so often we're caught up doing that we miss out on being. And we are human beings, but we are not human doings, but we get so caught up, sometimes we forget that we need to be. So I'd say as often as you remember this, you can pick and choose what pieces of this feel right. Also, if any of this sounds and feels good to you, you could do at the end, we did the 5-minute sit and allow yourself to relax. If you want to, you can do that like 20 minutes outside a couple times a week. And it is amazing what you can notice if you just sit outside and let yourself observe the world around you without any other agenda. So,
Especially now in the age of Zoom, people can take a break from work and practice this.
exactly.
Yeah, this leads us to the second question. Does it take practice to get to be good at mindfulness? And have you found that it's easier for some people than others, and why?
Yeah. So it's a practice itself, like the practice of mindfulness is a practice. Always you'll be practicing at it. So there's no like expert level aside from like those that have been like awakened and enlightened supposedly, but I don't know enough about that to really speak on that, but I imagine they would also say that they're always practicing being mindful. I think it might just be easier. But so yes, it is harder or easier depending on that being doing that's going on. I know a lot of folks that suffer with anxiety have trouble with mindfulness because when you pause and are still, sometimes those voices, those anxious ruminative thoughts can get louder. So if that happens for you, I would just suggest do it for as long as you can, like 5 minutes. If you can't do that, like 30 seconds or 1 minute, and then slowly increase the amount of time you're able to sit and be outside and just observe, or inside. And it does take time, especially if you do have some of these things I talked about, and there can be other reasons why it's hard to sit as well. But yes, it is harder for others than it is harder for others, and everybody can do it too. It does just take time. So my suggestion would just be true to yourself. Find what works for you. If you find you're really anxious and panicking while you're sitting, you no need to torture yourself. If you prefer, I would suggest a walking meditation where you simply just notice the feel of your foot in your shoe, the feel of the floor as you step, and just notice the sensations of your body as you move. And hopefully through that, you might be able to find some stillness and peace if you find sitting is a little too tough. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you. Yes, and I have one last question. This appeals to your medical knowledge. Why does spending time outdoors have such an impact on our health?
So there's a lot of research on this, and some of the research is about these chemicals that trees release I'm always pronouncing it incorrectly, but it's phytoncides, Phy, phyton, Cides. Forgive me if I'm spelling it incorrectly. And those help improve our immune system. And then there's the oxygen that we breathe in from green plants. And there's a lot of research. Like I say, there's different books. I've read The Nature Fix. See if it's around here, by Florence Williams. Oops, sorry. This is one book I've read that has a lot of research in it. The website, the Association for Nature and Forest Therapy, they have a lot of research in there as well. It's really interesting how much research is going into how nature benefits us. So does that answer?
Yes, we have another question here. Could you recommend any guided walks that can be accessed via YouTube, please?
Via YouTube. That's a good question. I don't know that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're out there. You could probably try to just Google forest bathing or forest therapy walks, or Shinrin Yoku. I can spell that if you need that. Does that answer? That answers the question, I think. Okay. Any other?
I think that's it. Hold on, we have one more. Someone is asking, is there any difference in benefits when hiking in the Pinelands versus the lush forest?
I don't know of any difference. That is a good question. So I'm afraid I can't answer that question. As far as I know, I don't think there is, but there could be. And like I said, there's just a lot of research that's actually going on. I know there's research like in the Netherlands, there's research in Japan, all different parts of the world that are kind of looking into that. So they might be studying different types of forests and which forests might be more beneficial for our health versus others. But I'd say if you're anywhere where there's like plants and vegetation and fresh air, fresh as possible, and sun, but even a city park is beneficial. Arboretums, all those can really actually decrease stress and lower your blood pressure and kind of help you feel that connection. So it doesn't have to be anywhere too exotic, or it doesn't have to be the wilderness. In fact, it's ideal if it's kind of a space where it's a little bit connected to humans, and that's where we can really start to connect to the land with us.
Thank you. And here's another question from someone. Where are some of your favorite places to walk or hike in New Jersey?
So I am right now in Princeton, and there are a lot of lovely parks around here. There's a park, it's called Skillman Park. So I guess that's Skillman technically. There's a Mountain Lakes Nature Preserve. They have a lovely lake that was dammed actually to get ice back in the early 19th century. And those are the two that first come to mind. But there are tons of hikes in New Jersey. Sourland Preserve is nice too. There's some good hikes in northern New Jersey, but pretty much any park I'll be in. I kind of like some of the smaller parks. They're really nice too.
Can also recommend Lawrence Hopewell Trail.
Yeah.
Anyone has been there? It's good for biking, walking.
The DNR Canal Trail too. Thank you. Good reminder.
Yes, that one too. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, we would like to thank Alex for joining us today, answering our questions and teaching us how to take a moment for ourselves. And if you have any other questions, let us know. You can email us. If not, thanks again. And hopefully you found this very useful and you can apply it in your day-to-day life.
Thank you all.